Chillporeal e yokoso. Watashi wa naruporio desu. Konya watashi ni kuwawara no wa akugori. Akugori Canadian desu. Genki desu ka?
Hi, Genki des.
How you doing, everybody? It's a translate. Welcome to Chillporeal. I'm Brian, the Corporeal life form. This was my chance to try to use some of my Japanese to introduce myself. So tonight we're going to be talking about Shogun 1980. We're going to be talking about we're gonna let AC dunk on the new series, and then we're gonna probably talk about some video games later. So yeah, so I don't think we got anyone here yet. So AC, how you doing, man?
Doing good, man. Having fun, living life.
So you started watching Shogun, right? You started watching the original show. I know because I was watching some of it with you.
Yeah, we were having like a watch along and your server and Dread Robert's server, just having a gay old time, I guess you could say.
Nothing. Yeah, very happy time. That happy, not the other meaning, not the other meaning. So there you go. So 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 what made you want to watch the original Shogun? Like, what was it? Because I know you watched the remake first, and then you got interested in the original Shogun. Why is that?
Well, so the remake or the FX series came out, and there was all this hype around it. And of course, me being somebody that lives in Japan and curious to see like how, um, you know, Hollywood depicts Japan because once again it's a bunch of Western studios, depicting Japan in the modern sense. I wanted to see what it was, and I decided, all right, well, I'll give it a shot because it didn't really interest me at first because it looked too dramatized, I guess you could say, and like too westernisk. And this is coming from somebody that's watched a lot of the Kurosawa films, so Seven Samurai, Yojimbo. There's a few other ones I do want to catch up on and watch. So I already know and understand a little bit of Japanese cinema just from a few movies. And I started watching it, and it was interesting for what it was, but something about it felt really off. I don't know why, like just I could kind of almost smell the stench of like modern Hollywood on it. And as the show progressed, like just kept getting more and more irritated with just how like characters behaved and how they interacted with each other. So I was talking to a good friend of mine who lives out here, and he's a big fan of the original book because this is what these shows are based off of the original book. And then
Mm-hmm.
he had the Blu-ray disc for the 1980s miniseries. And so he said, "Yeah, if you want to borrow, you can." So I borrowed it, and I got home. I started watching it, and I was just like, "Wow, this is like much better in so many different aspects." And like we were kind of robbed of it in the new show because the new show they want to take a different approach to it, uh, whereas like the older show kind of tries to stay more faithful to the book and maybe add a little bit to it as far as like a more visual flair to it, but it still felt more respectful to the source material, which I have to disclaim and say I haven't read the source material. It's only based off of interactions with people that have read it. But I've read some synopsises of it, and I do plan on reading it. It just understanding how the older show, like the way it's filmed, the way they do the costumes, the character stories, and everything, feels like it lines up more with the original book than this newer show. The newer show feels just like kind of like modern Hollywood, like new Hollywood.
Yeah, the newer. I mean, so the first thing I took away from watching this older show is instead of the newer show. I mean, the newer show has some of the whole stranger in a strange land type of story, type of adventure story, which is pretty much what this is, and it builds and all that. Once again, modern Hollywood, and I mean, even though Shogun's not fantasy, it's more of a historical fiction. The it's once again they keep wanting to be the next Game of Thrones. They keep trying to make another even though this is not fantasy. Everybody wants to be the next Game of Thrones, and that's why they incorporate all like all the Japanese intrigue in the new show. Which is, I mean, there is some intrigue in the show, but it's not as focused on. Like it's usually said in passing. It's usually just simply part of it's simply part of the plot. And like so like a lot of the things that the news show did was show things that were just mentioned in passing in this original show. And I'm assuming it's the same in the book, because I'm assuming the book is pretty much the same in that regard. I mean, I could be wrong though. But the thing that I noticed is that there's subtitles in the new show. This show, you literally feel like you are Blackthorn. Blackthorn's the main character, based off of I think the name of the historical his historical counterpart is Richard Adams or something Adams. Richard Adams, not the author of Watership, but but you feel like you're actually in this strange land with these strange customs. And one thing I like about this old show is that it can be terrifying, because you're like, okay, you don't want to do anything unusual, or else, somebody's head can roll. Somebody's head can roll.
Yeah.
And it didn't really feel in the new show. The new show felt very just like you were more interested in the politicking, the Japanese politicking. So like in the new show, we don't actually really see the Regency. We don't see the Regency. They don't really even really go into, like, we never see the, like in the new show, there's like a kid who is supposed to be like the son of the previous daimyo. I don't remember if the previous daimyo is supposed to be based off of Oda Nobunaga. I'm
not sure either.
Nobunaga is based off of Tokugawa, who
Yeah.
the Shogunate. And here's another interesting thing about the history. One thing the new show never mentioned. The new show never mentioned the emperor. So the Japan has an emperor. Everybody, I'm sure everybody. I mean, I'm sure most people know that, but I think even back then, like, the emperor wasn't really a powerful figure, but was more of a spiritual figure that was still revered by. Like, the shogun is basically, according to the show, is supposed to be like a military commander, military dictator that still kind of reports to the emperor, kind of like, the prime minister kind of reports to now the king of England. If you've ever seen the Crown, I don't know if you've ever seen the Crown. Crown's not a bad show, at least the first couple of seasons, but I'm curious if that's the same idea. So the new show didn't even mention the emperor at all. And of course, back then, the Kyoto was where the emperor hung out, because Kyoto was considered the center of Japan, the capital. Edo, which is now Tokyo, was just, obviously, I think in the new show, I think in this show, they mention it, but in the new show, we actually see them trying to establish Edo as a big place in Japan. So, but going back, I liked one thing that I thought the original show missed was the Catholic subplot, the Jesuit, the black ship, the Portuguese. Like, I feel like they established it in the new show, and then they just abandoned it because I guess they didn't have enough time.
Yes. Yeah, and that will lead into our conversation later about their announcement for season 2 and 3. I think if they were smarter, they could have paced out this first season a little bit better and develop, or when I'm talking about the new show, and develop those plots with the black ship and whatnot, because there's some amazing tension between Blackthorn, the Jesuits, the Portuguese and whatnot, and that you just don't really see in the new show. And anyways, like, there's that. We're talking about. Actually, I've lost my train of thought now with with the old show. There's a lot of parts. Like, if you want to jump into it, I can start jumping into it right now with the old show. Like, what I really liked.
Yeah. Let's get into it.
All right. So for me, one of the first things I noticed with the new show that kind of threw me off was how dirty everything looked. Everything what's up?
Yeah, the color. Like, the color is very dull and gray compared to this. Look, I mean, just this shot right here with Mariko about to. And here's another thing. They're actually wearing the white outfits, which I've seen in other Japanese cinema, especially Lone Wolf and Cub in the beginning, because the main character, Ito Ogami, Ito Ogami, is an executioner. So like they commit harakiri or seppuku, and then they assist by beheading. And they wore these white outfits. It's practically ceremonial. Here, it's almost the same, but we didn't really see that in the new show. It's
Well,
just
yeah, and notice how they're doing it outside and not inside like they did in the new show.
yeah.
Both times that you see the seppuku scenes, except for like the final one with Toranaga, which I don't know if that was how it was done in the book, but the first two ones they were both done inside, whereas in this older show they did it outside. And that was something because I watched the first episode of the new show with my wife because I wanted to see like what her reaction is. She's Japanese, by the way, and yeah, she pointed out like, why does everything look really dirty? Why is everybody got like all the Japanese like characters have like unkept hair? They're like not really groomed as well. They don't look clean.
Yeah, like this
Um,
character Yabu.
yeah,
Yabu was just like this. He looked like a freaking tramp in the new show, and he looked like I don't really want to be here. I don't care. So
yeah.
and the same with and then this character, his nephew. Where if I can find a shot of him, where is he? His nephew, who looked in the new show, his nephew looked like he didn't. He looked like he looked like an incompetent buffoon.
Yeah,
He looked like an incompetent buffoon, whereas his counterpart in this show actually was stoic, was composed, and wasn't emotional. Like even when he pissed on Blackthorn in the beginning. Yes, the pissing scene is in the show too. This is the first time. Fun fact historically on TV. So this was a TV event in 1980 in the fall of 1980. This was they did this was prime time for all 5 days of the week on NBC. Now this was 80. I wasn't born yet for another 4 years, but like this was such a big deal for like just bringing awareness to Japanese culture to the West, especially. And you want to hear something funny? Apparently the rise of sushi businesses erupted because of Shogun.
which is weird because I didn't see any sushi in this show.
No,
So
I didn't either. I didn't either.
yeah, and that's interesting. You just said that this old show basically brought Japanese to the West, right?
Yeah.
And I believe this is a great show to do that in, like the form of it and how it was done. Whereas I can't really say the same thing for the new show. I think like yeah, but going back to the old show, so like some good points about it, superior points about it is the timepiece, like how they took care of the outfits that they're all wearing. They're all wearing very clean, colorful, distinct outfits. Like I said, people look clean. They don't look like a bunch of messes because they talk about it in the show. Whereas it seemed like at the time the European countries lived in like some really foul environments, some really dirty environments. We have the funny scene with Blackthorn here. He doesn't want to take a bath because he thinks he's gonna
because
die
you
if he
take
takes a bath.
you take a bath. Water back then, the water wasn't purified and wasn't cleaned, so you could get sick. You could get sick from taking a bath. So that was part of it. And then just even thinking about it, you want to take a bath, just being in your own filth, it's gross. So
Yeah, and that's just something us dirty Europeans, like we were used to that. And
hey, speak for
anyways,
yourself.
all of us, dude. So with the old show, the biggest thing too was the location, the way they filmed it. And I told this to you while we're watching this old show. I can recognize the locations that they were shooting at because I've been to those locations. So, for example, a lot of these inside stuff, I think a lot of the inside scenes were shot in Kyoto because that's what I looked up online. But the outside stuff was shot at Himeji City, which has the
Mhm.
famous Himeji Castle. Which actually, if you've seen "You Only Live Twice," one of my favorite James Bond movies, he
I
goes to
wonder
that.
why. I wonder why.
Yeah, he goes there and he trains there. That's shot there. Like another scene you see in Yedo, which is like Tokyo side, is Hakone Castle.
It's interesting how they call it in this show. They call it Iedo, whereas I always thought it was called Edo or something.
Edo.
Yeah,
So I think because we're talking like 15th century or Was it 15th or 16th
This
century?
is literally like start. I think this is literally 1600 here.
Okay,
So
so yeah, it's older Japanese. So Japanese has changed because it's been around for 1,000 years. Like it's changed over the years. Like there are a lot of like pronunciations and words that have changed. So, um, I mean, for example, Japan was never just called Nihon. Like many, like hundreds of years ago, it was called just Wa. And the man,
it
you're
was just
really trying
called
to pull on.
wa. They called
Yeah, wa or some. It was like a short word, but it wasn't Nihon. Like Nihon was when Japan became more unified. It was like an
like
actual country.
like wa as in watashi wa, or like, you know.
Yes,
So what does that
and
mean? Just like,
I'm not sure exactly, but I know like it had an older term than just Nihon. Nihon is like relatively newer.
I'm curious
Uh,
if it's just like this place is where I'm at or where I happen to be. That's what it sounds like. That's what it sounds like to me.
but so moving on from like the set location and like how everything is really filmed in Japan. The characters. To me, the characters were a huge difference between the two shows. We'll start with the most obvious one, which is Richard Chamberlain's um,
Blackthorn.
Blackthorn. Yes, and like the thing that really drove me nuts about the new show is how much of a loser Blackthorn behaves, and like how like you could tell like he got notes where it's like you can't act tough, like you have to act like really like
I mean,
wimpyish.
he tried to act tough, but there was one part that I remember. So, like in this version, I have not seen him be dishonorable in any way. Heck, he tries, and I don't remember. Maybe do you remember this in the new show? I mean, it's been a while since I watched, you know, the new show, but like when he gets to back to the village, you know, when he gets back to the village, he has 6 months to learn Japanese. And if he doesn't, this guy right here, Yabu Sama, is going to kill everyone in the village and burn it down. And so he has that on his conscience. And he meets with him. He tries to plead with him, and I think what was his name, Yomi, the nephew, the one that is actually seems tough and stoic in
Yeah,
this version, and not like the one that
like a
looks like
crybaby in the
looks like a
second version.
crybaby and it makes these childish faces, you know. Here, like he's trying to tell them to spare the village. Like, I can't. This is dishonor. He literally he uses their own uh, laws against them. He's like, hey, if this is dishonor, I'm going to have to commit seppuku. And I'm watching this, I'm like, how is he going to get out of this? What is I don't remember if this was in the new show, but like he's about to do it. And like Yomi is there. Yomi actually stops him when he tries to actually, you know, impale himself. Like he's pulling back. I was like, is he really going to do it? But then when you think about it, I'm like, you know what? I can see him doing that, because can you live with something like that, knowing that if you fail, you have the lives of everybody tied to what you do, or whether or not you're successful. Imagine getting a job. Imagine having a job, and and if you don't learn everything that you need to know, you know, they could kill everyone in the company or something, or whoever or in the department. Like, can you live with that on your conscience? I couldn't.
Yeah, this scene or that scene in particular was intense. Like I think they might have touched it in the newer show, but it did not feel as intense as this older scene. And also, yeah, they're all complete strangers. Like he doesn't know any of these villagers. Like he basically like moved there. And yeah, that scene was insane. Like watching that go down, and he had like determination in his eyes to do it.
Because I can't
And
imagine Tramp version of this guy doing that. Because what's weird was I actually liked his Tramp version. I was hoping he wouldn't die. Like, he was like the whole time in the new show, he was kind of like juggling the whole. I mean, he was kind of at the center of all the political intrigue. Like, he had to be careful what he said, you know, and you know and I was just like, oh, is he gonna? He's going to survive this, right? And at the end, he gets his head cut off, and that was basically the end of the thing. In this version, he actually is happy to die. He doesn't even show any pain. Like, he's barely making a face. He's just. And then
yeah,
the old guy lives. And in the other version, the old guy
yes,
committed harakiri or seppuku. In this
Yeah.
version, he wasn't even barely a character. He was just there. He was there for a few scenes. He shows up in the beginning. He delivers his Toranaga's letter of resignation to Ishido, and that was it. And then he was there to cut off his head, to cut off Yabu's head right here.
Yeah.
It wasn't Toranaga. It wasn't Toshiro Mifune's Toranaga. In the new show, Toranaga himself does it, and they do it on a hill. They do it on a hill while watching the Blackthorn or something.
They do it on a hill in British Columbia.
That was in British Columbia?
That whole show was shot in British Columbia.
No way. They didn't shoot anything in Japan?
No. Based off of what I found on IMDb, nothing looks like nothing was shot. There is a credit for it being shot in Japan, but there's no specifics. So it could be like one scene inside like a room that was shot in Japan. But no, all of that outside stuff was done in yeah.
And I don't recognize it. I don't even remember him going blind or losing or him having his eyesight impaired in the new show either.
I don't remember that either. No.
Like in the show, he actually tries to pull her back from the exploding door because all the ninjas that break in. And I'll be honest, I swear Better Call Saul kind of took an idea from this for one of their penultimate season. There was literally a season where one of the characters is trying to have he's trying to have one of the cartel guys killed, one of the main cartel guys, the main villain of Better Call Saul, so to speak. And he lets in these commandos hired by Gus Fring, the bad guy from Breaking Bad. And then they have something similar where they're going in, they're trying to kill they're trying to kill him, and then that's kind of where it stops. And of course, that character's life that let those guys in was forfeit after that. I'm just going to say that. So I don't know. I'm assuming I'm sure you haven't seen Better Call Saul, so this probably means nothing to you. But this is something I found myself. I was like, that's interesting. But then again, Shogun's great television, so why not? Why not take an idea from Shogun?
Well, going back to the characters, one of the ones that I called out at the beginning of the new show was Mariko. And I had like some really strange vibes coming off of her, like from the new show. And yeah, sure enough, she had her girl boss moment in the show. And I mean, it was in the first episode. She kind of had a girl boss moment, but like later on, she did a fight against a bunch of the palace guards, and that was like really lame just to see that her like.
I was curious if that was going to happen here, and it didn't.
Yeah, it didn't, because I don't believe that really would have happened in the original book or even in the original like historical setting. Like it was just, again, that's modern Hollywood, and them having to put that into it just to like cater to a modern audience. So going back to Mariko, like her character in the older show was just more of what I would imagine and what I know and understand of women in that time period, like how they behaved versus like what we saw in the new show. And one of the scenes that drove me nuts in the new show is when Blackthorn and her would argue in front of Toranaga. And like the arguments would be like a couple minutes long. And if I was him, I would be pretty irritated that like these two people are arguing back and forth, because you can tell by tone in any language if you're arguing. Yeah. And so I think Blackthorn would have died right away. Like he would have been executed right there for arguing with her, instead of like, them talking and translating correctly. The opening scene. So if you remember from the first episode of the new show, and it shows Blackthorn going up to the palace, whatever, to meet Toranaga, and Mariko's already sitting behind him to the left of him.
Yeah.
In the old show, they bring her in. They like introduce her in because in that time period, like no one sat up there unless like you're the highest ranking person of like that area or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so they would bring you in as needed. And so they did that. They brought her in, and the way they introduced her was like she was just this humble person there to serve her lord, because that's what her job was. Yeah. But they wanted to make her seem equal to him in the newer show, and that didn't really sit well with me when I was watching it. So, yeah, her character in the old show was really nice. Now, I will say they might have over romanticized their relationship a bit because based off of what I've read online, in the books they don't really go too much into the romance of the two characters.
Yeah.
But it was like it was okay to see it like whatever. Like it didn't like distract or destroy their their interactions with each other.
It made her spoiler alert. It made her character's death way more
Impactful for him.
impactful. Yeah.
Yeah.
And not only that, he was injured in the attempt too. So in the attempt to
Yep.
save her. So yeah. So there's a lot of emotional weight there that the new show the new show didn't have as much. Like I was surprised that she died. Period. In the new show, I was just like, I'm just like thinking, really, her? Why her? So I don't know.
Well, the way they also set it up, which again, I need to read the book to see if they talk about it. Torunaga basically sent her to die in the new show.
In the old show too, I mean, you hear it in the monologue at the end. So it's one thing that was interesting about this show. Like I said, there's no subtitles. There's no Japanese subtitles here. So when characters, so there are scenes where there's Japanese characters talking to each other. You're like, what are they talking about? That's the one thing I didn't like. Sometimes there'd be a narrator. Sometimes there'd be a narrator saying, "Oh, this is going on," or "This is what they're talking about." But when there were two characters just talking Japanese, I mean, like the tea ceremony, for instance, I was okay with because I kind of had a good idea what was being said. And by the way, I liked the tea ceremony. I don't know about you, but I like the tea ceremony in both shows. The one in the new show was, I was like, dude, like I was like, whoa.
Yeah, they weren't, both of them were not bad. They were pretty intense, and they got the message across that it needed to.
Yeah, like she's just like, I think in the new show she was just like, she's like, I would rather die 1,000 times or be tortured 1,000 times than be willingly intimate with you. To I forget her husband's name. So that whole storyline, I mean, when you think about it, man, she's such a tragic character. Like she wanted to, I mean, she fell in love with him, but she ultimately, I think, wanted to die. Like she was forced to live, basically.
Yeah.
And she was, I mean, and still within that culture, like, you know, it's like, that's like, she was in prison. She was in her own version of hell.
Yep.
So, and I don't know, like I don't remember if he did that to punish her, to make her live and remember, or to live with all that as punishment, or if he actually wanted to marry her, or maybe it was both in a twisted way. I don't know. Like I'd have to read the book to.
Well, what happened originally was she got married to him for like political reasons, and she was not interested in that. And then her dad committed that assassination, and that blemished her family. And her husband was really angry about that. And but because of like the political like situation, he didn't want to lose her. Maybe there was a sense of love towards her he still had, but he was still mad about it. And instead of giving her the ultimate like forgiveness by committing seppuku and like her self-mutilating, like he punished her by ordering her to stay alive and preventing her from doing that. So yeah, go ahead.
So we got someone here who doesn't. So Shogun's it's a show from 1980. It's a movie, TV movie about Japan in 1600, and so it's a love story. So that's what we're talking about. So there's a lot of action, a lot of people speaking Japanese. Imagine you go to a country and there's a language barrier and you have no idea what's going. You have no idea how to, and you see the strange culture where if you make a weird wrong move, they'll chop someone's head off. That's basically what this show is. What's weird is this show really rang true in a lot of ways over the new one. just because I mean I like it just make it, you're in Blackthorn's shoes. You're just like you're curious what's going on, what's going to happen. So there's always that level of suspense there. Um, but the one thing that I mean, now maybe it's just maybe the Portuguese all know English or something, but like or maybe the Catholics know English or something. But yeah, they
No, they were
speak
all
they
speaking Portuguese.
so okay so
Remember, Blackthorn
Blackthorn
knew Portuguese.
so Blackthorn was so our so we're us hearing English was actually them speaking Portuguese to each other. Okay.
Yes,
All right.
yes.
Yeah, so apparently Catholics. So not only that, the Catholics are in Japan, and the main characters from the Netherlands. He's Dutch. He's a Protestant Dutch, and the Protestants were enemies with the Catholics. You know, back this was post Reformation. So like you know when certain churches broke off from the Catholic Church, and you didn't want to mess with the Catholic Church. You know they were a 1,500-year-old institution, and even though they were a Christian institution, they can have you killed. They would you know if you go up against them. You know what's funny? I like the Catholic like that scene that we were talking about earlier with the one samurai dude who was also a brother. I don't know how that happened. I don't know how they landed that, but apparently they did. A samurai was also a brother, Christian brother, Catholic brother, and he did something. He did a sin which required penance. He had to scourge himself. He had to whip himself, kind of like the dude from if you ever seen the Da Vinci Code.
Yeah.
So he had to scourge himself. He's like, no, like I will suffer sin, I will suffer wrath, but I will burn in hell for all eternity, and I'll bear it, but I will not scourge myself. I will
Yeah.
not dishonor myself.
That scene was intense because he was willing to also commit seppuku right there, but because of the Christian or Catholic religion,
On
if you
suicide,
do
yeah.
that, it's dishonorable and you can go to hell for that. So that
Yeah.
was a crazy scene because that character turns up later for
Yes.
Blackthorn because Blackthorn becomes samurai and he gets his own like little army.
Yeah. And I
And
don't think that was in the old show. The new not
no,
the
so
new show, or was it?
we'll get back to that in a second because there's a couple more things I wanted to
All
get
right.
to before we get to that.
Right.
So, going back to we talked about medical, but so Toranaga, like Toshiro Mifune, who's a legend, right? I mean, he's done so
Seven
many great,
Samurai,
fantastic movies.
Yojimbo. I mean,
Yeah,
he was pretty much the star in every Kurosawa movie in the 50s, late 40s,
yeah.
50s, and early 60s.
And I think he did a fantastic job in this role as Toranaga. He wasn't as like intimidating or scary. I was what's the newer guy's name? Um, Suyada or
Uh,
Suyada. I can't remember his name exactly, but
he was in.
um,
I mean, I just remember him from Westworld season 2 when they go to Shogun World. I don't know if you ever seen Westworld, the
no,
HBO Westworld.
no. I've seen Mortal Kombat because he's Scorpion in Mortal Kombat.
Oh, really? I didn't
Um,
know that. Or the new one,
yeah,
or
the new one.
or
Yeah,
the
the new one.
'90s one. Okay.
The new one. Yeah, so his character, like he's he's a great actor. He knows how to convey like seriousness as well as intensity with like you just don't know what he's thinking, which is like a really good thing because that the whole new show is constructed around the Japanese politics of like moving these chess pieces and moving people in certain positions to get things done. Whereas you touched on this with the older show, yeah, all the Japanese, there's no subtitles because you, the viewer, are watching this through the lens of Blackthorn. And I think that provides like a really interesting way of storytelling because you have to pay attention and listen to tone of voice or inflection in speech when when the Japanese people are talking to each other instead of just having everything like fed to you via subtitles. So it kind of forces you to pay attention to the situation. And also the book is about Blackthorn. The book is not about Toranaga per se. Like, yeah, he's a main character, but the book was written from Blackthorn's perspective, so it's about him. And to like circle to or to move towards the new show, like one of the things that I don't know if you looked this up, but I was looking up like interviews about the new show, and there was like several interviews out there between like the actresses or actors and the writers and whoever about how they wanted to remove the white savior complex from the book and like the older show had. And I think I find it interesting that like no one really pointed that out when the show came out because a lot of these articles were published around the show like being released.
Yeah.
And so yeah, like they talked about how they wanted to remove the white savior complex, and you could see that with the new show, like the way they treat Blackthorn in the new show. He's just kind of like a side character, even though the story's supposed to be about him. Um, and it was just like it just like makes a lot of sense. And so I don't know.
I'm curious if that's why they cut out the, like I said, they cut out the Catholic, so they kind of abandoned the Catholic subplot here. You know, the whole
Yeah,
Christian. I mean,
because this leads into him getting him Blackthorn receiving this guy as a samurai, and then you have this amazing scene where he tells this guy right here, the guy on his knees, tells Blackthorn, "Hey, you probably have Christian Catholics in your army, so
yeah,
you need to out them basically." And that
yeah,
was such an amazing scene, like seeing them like step on the cross or whatever it was.
yeah.
Like anything to dunk on the Catholics is a win for me. But yeah, it was really funny to see that. And they killed a guy on the spot because he was about to like swing at Blackthorn, but he got stopped.
Yeah,
So
it's crazy. This was a great scene because what really interested me about this was just the clash of the, you know, the worldview of the Japanese samurai clashing with the worldview of you know, of the Portuguese Catholic, or you know, or
yes,
Catholicism, and it's two totally opposite things. And so watching this kind of clash together in this scene right here, which was not in the show. At least I don't recall this scene in the show. I would have remembered it if this was in the show, the new show. So I love this. Like this I was paying attention. Like, I'll be honest, a lot of the show I was kind of, you know, watching in passing, but this scene really stood out. I was actually paying attention to what was going on here. And what's funny is this I don't know if you remember this priest guy, right here, Father, was it Alvito? This guy,
Alvito, yeah,
he's just like he's in the new show, he's just a dork. He's just a nice dork, basically. He's not, I mean, he's just a nice guy in the show, whereas this guy, he's got a little bit of, he's more of an interesting character. He's got a little bit of a threatening aura to
yes.
him, but at the same time there's a respect that he has with Toranaga, like that's still built up, even though, but there's still that I thought their relationship was interesting, just like where's my boy Rodriguez?
Yes, we had to talk about,
Rodriguez,
yes, we had to talk
Inglés.
about him. English, yeah.
Now
Yeah.
I liked in the beginning of the new show, with Nestor Carbonell played Rodriguez. You know, if you don't know Nestor Carbonell, he's in a whole lot of shows that have been made by Carlton Cuse or J.J. Abrams. So like he was in Lost, he was in Bates Motel, and he was in this show, and he because he's actually Spanish, so like I mean, I liked him in this show, in the new show. But I mean, come on, you can't beat John Rhys Davies, you can't
Go,
beat Gimli, you can't beat Sala from Raiders of the Lost Ark.
go to towards the end of this clip or this file you got here, because I think that's where the scene with the black ship confrontation, which they completely just ignore in the new show.
Yeah,
Um,
like I said, they completely abandoned the black ship. You know, the silk training, the Macau. You know, the Catholic Ronin. You know, mercenaries. You know,
well,
committing
if
stuff.
you want to talk about it, well, I'll talk about it while you look it up. So basically, the black ship was a merchant ship that traveled around the Japanese Sea or Sea of Japan to trade with all the different Asian countries there, and the Portuguese used that as basically like their money laundering boat, so that they can send a lot of money to and fro Portugal and Japan and like make the riches off of it. And when Blackthorn found out about that, he wanted to sink it right away because he's obviously a natural enemy to the Catholic Church. And so there's a lot of tension and also kind of like mutual respect between Blackthorn, who's a pilot, and the Spanish pilot over here. And well, not the guy that's on screen. He's like hiding in the back somewhere there. But yeah, so the black ship is a very important point for the story, and they just kind of abandon it in the new show. Whereas in this scene right here, which was like, I didn't see this scene coming at all. Like, this was an intense scene. You've got the father right here, who's basically like in charge of all of the Jesuits in Japan, it looks like. and he's having a confrontation with the boat captain there, who is he's like the governor of the ship as well as Macau or whatever. So that's like an interesting thing about it.
Well, I mean, he's the captain. I think that is I don't know if he's appointed by the Jesuits or something. So, but yeah, this guy's like one of the main Jesuit. I don't know if he's a priest or I don't know if he's a bishop or something, but he like there's this clash right here between him. He's like, oh, this is a military matter, and the father here is saying, no, this is a Catholic matter. And he's like, well, you have no power here. He's like, I do have power. I have the power to excommunicate all of you. And I liked how they all whinged. I like how like they all whinged. So back in this day, you know, the whole idea of being excommunicated was unheard of. Like you did not want to be if you were Portuguese or Spanish, you did not want to be excommunicated from Catholic Church. I mean, I'm guessing I have to read up on like, you know, like on like how people thought of like the worldviews that people had in Europe at this time. But this was another interesting scene to see and everything. So, but yeah, I like that this was another great clash that I was enjoying seeing.
Well, yeah, because both Blackthorn and this priest right here, the priest does not want Blackthorn alive because he's a threat to like their little secret operation that they have here in the Japans. But he knows that if this guy dies, especially now at this point, Blackthorn, he is Hatamoto, he is samurai. He's like pretty high up in Toranaga's like hierarchy, like his family. So if this guy dies, there's going to be a war between the priests and Toranaga's like, you know, his family, his army, and he knows that like he has to protect his enemy at all costs against the captain here, the ship captain here, that really wants him dead, but doesn't understand the grander picture, the political stuff that's happening.
I mean, I do kind of want to go back to that scene where he wanted. It was a couple episodes earlier. He wanted him. he's like, I want. He's negotiating with Toranaga. This guy, Captain Ferreira. And he's like, I want Blackthorn. I want the Dutchman. I want the Inglés. Or I don't even know if he says Inglés, but he's like, I want him. And then Gimli just throws him overboard. He's like, I found him offensive, and I just threw him overboard.
Yeah. It was good. Yeah. Like that chemistry between the both pilots, the Spanish or Portuguese one and Blackthorn was fantastic. And another interesting point, man. Oh, there he is. Right there.
He's got a hat on. Look at this.
Yeah, he's awesome. Like this, he
English. I like how they just banter and they call each other names and all that. It's like I could watch a whole show just two dudes being dudes and just, you know, ripping on each other and having a good time and all that. So I was enjoying that. I was enjoying that. So
there was also a moment in the show where this guy was going to go kill Blackthorn because he was basically kind of ordered to do it.
Well, he found out that like Blackthorn could be a threat.
Yeah.
To him because if he's powerful enough, he can get his ship back. And if he gets his ship back, well, he has a cannon. And if he has a cannon, he can destroy him because the black ship would be no match for the Erasmus, which is the name of Blackthorn's ship that he crashes in Japan on. So. Yeah, so he literally came. He had a dagger in his boot. He had a dagger in his feather dagger in his cap. So yeah, so that was a great scene too because I don't think that was in the they did not follow up on anything in the new show. What can I say?
Yeah, basically, after they escape Osaka Bay, you don't really see that guy anymore, if I remember correctly, and the whole like black ship subplot just disappears.
Yeah.
It was unfortunate because like this whole thing, the Blackthorn's perspective is all about like I got to sink the black ship, I got to get my ship repaired or ready to go so I can do it, and then ultimately at the end of the show, you know, his ship gets burned, he gets destroyed by Toranaga himself, and I mean,
anyways, look at the difference. This is the new show. Look at the difference in like just the color right here.
Yeah, it's weird because like it looks like it's wintertime, but the show is taking place during not typhoon season, but like maybe springtime. I don't know
Hmm.
exactly. Again, it's like some details. Maybe James Clavell didn't write in the book. I don't know, but yeah, it just like this looks like a British Columbian forest. I've walked through those forests, so I recognize it.
And
Um,
this is Blackthorn. This is the new Blackthorn, and this is the new Rodriguez. So you go from colorful guy with a cap to, I mean, I still like the thing but they made him more of a villain because he literally tries to murder Rodriguez in this episode, I think, or was it the following
uh,
episode?
it might have been the fall. It's like when on the boat, right? They were
Yeah,
on the boat. Yeah.
yeah, because Rodriguez was injured, and he's like, I know the truth about you, and then that you're really a pirate, or you're and he tries to kill him, and Rodriguez takes out the pistol. He's like, back off, buddy, back off, and everything. So
Another thing I wanted to mention about Blackthorn, both the new and the old version, is just the way that they wear their outfits. Like the new version, every time this is gonna be kind of self-incriminating, but every time I saw him, he reminded me of my dad when my dad used to wear like a bathrobe, like out like for morning time.
mhm.
Whereas like the older version, like he's wearing his Japanese like outfit and he looks very distinct, very noble. But like this new Blackthorn, when he's wearing his like bathrobe, it's like it looks like he just slapped it on and then, like walked outside to take in the morning air. And it didn't look
Like right here, for, like
yeah,
right
like
here,
that,
for
yeah.
instance.
Yeah. And then so see how you noticed how Toranaga's like colors, like his like outfit colors were brown, right?
Yeah,
In the new show, like it looks like it's dirty. It doesn't look attractive or anything. Whereas like the older show, they were able to make it look very like cool looking, very elegant, very you know I don't know. I want to say beautiful, but just it looked really really good in
it
the
looked
older show.
everybody looked
Regal, yeah.
very the one thing the old show did that I've noticed compared to this show is everybody was more regal. Like, I mean, I kind of like this Toranaga, but he doesn't have the gravitas or the like, or as far as I'm concerned, the power that that Toshiro Mifune's Toranaga does. Like, I mean, obviously, I mean, who can go against movie star Toshiro Mifune in terms of screen presence? I mean, not a whole lot of people, but at the same time, like there was like you didn't know what was going to happen with him. Like he could be in a good mood one moment, and he could be in a really bad mood the other moment. He could tell you could he'll entertain something, or then he'll tell you, like, for instance, in the old show, there's a point where Blackthorn tries to tries to tries to get tries to get Toranaga to approve a divorce for Mariko. And he's like, "Don't you ever bring that up again."
Yeah.
I don't think that was in the new show because they didn't
No.
really. Because I'm not sure they were. I don't know if they were ever in love. I mean, I don't remember if they were in love in the show.
There was one scene that they were with each other, and that was it as far as like sleeping together. But I believe
Was
that
that the
might
one
have
where
been
he thought he was sleeping with her because it
no,
was?
no, 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 no. Later on, like towards the end of the season, honestly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it was right before she got attacked and died. It was right before that scene. But there was like no real romantic tension between the two, which you can argue that is book accurate because based off what I've heard, they don't really have like they don't the older show goes overboard with the romantic relationship between the two, but that's just to show the impact that her death had on him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there was a point about Torunaga. Oh, that's right. So because the new show, there's no sense of mystery when you see the Japanese characters talking with each other because the subtitles are on screen. They
Yeah.
had to basically create a sense of mystery with the acting itself. So Torunaga, the new character, you didn't know what he was thinking, even if there was subtitles on screen. So he had to portray himself as this like very cloak and dagger type of character because, like I said, all the subtitles are on screen to tell you what they're saying. Whereas in
Yeah.
the older show, because you didn't see the subtitles, and a lot of you guys don't know Japanese, I'm not saying that I know enough. There are still moments that I didn't understand what they were talking about, because it was just like they were using different language, or it was a little bit complex, and that still created a sense of like mystery to me that I
Yeah.
think was captivated really well in the older show.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't know exactly what they were saying, and so it was up to you to really pay attention to like facial expressions. Required you to pay attention. Period. So, like
Yeah.
I said, they didn't focus nearly as much on the political intrigue. So part of, like you said, part of it was trying to have him hide his intentions, and which obviously is part of the political intrigue. But they had to create this whole political intrigue subplot to kind of make up for that. At least that's what I'm thinking.
And another thing too that I just realized is in the new show, Toranaga seems to like really not care or respect Blackthorn even after he's like promoted him and given him all this stuff. He still like treats him kind of like a lapdog. Whereas like in the older show, yeah, there's that one moment where he tells him like never bring up the divorce papers again, but he still like treats him with respect, and he still like is understands that he has a purpose, and he's not like this bumbling fool. Like, because one thing that the old show shows is Blackthorn is actually actively learning Japanese. He's actively learning the culture and the customs, and you just don't see that in the new show.
Yeah,
He like,
that
just
was
randomly
you're
learns
right.
Japanese in the
Yeah,
new show.
you're right. Like I loved when Mariko was teaching him Japanese, and he was learning it, and I was relearning some of that too today, listening to that scene. It was actually very it was very
It was
nice.
well done. It was
It
really
was well
done.
done. It was very, I thought it was very wholesome. It was a very wholesome part of that show. And instead of that, in the new show we get this, which was not in the old show. I don't know if Torganon might have had a son in the old show.
He did.
in
He
the
did.
book, but
Oh, in the book, yeah.
this in the book or in the old show, but he didn't. This doesn't happen. This
His
doesn't.
son. Oh,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Let's say his son was in the old show, and his son was more stoic and like I would even say more attractive, like more handsome looking than this like little runt.
Oh, I know that was his son. I had no idea.
That was his son. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, his son was. Like the characters in this show look like they're like. I already touched on that. So there's a lot less stoicism in modern Hollywood, I guess, than back then. I mean, you had to be stoic in Japan. I mean, you had, what was it, 3 hearts? What was in Shogun that they said you have 3 hearts and like 6
6 faces? Yeah,
6 faces,
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So you didn't know what the other person was thinking. I mean, that would make sense. We're here, like you see, like Omi or whatever his name is, Yomi or Omi, making all these irritated facial expressions, like exactly what he's thinking.
Yeah, in the old show, he always had like a very strict face on him, a serious face. There might have been a couple times where he revealed himself, like what he was thinking. Another interesting point, I don't remember if the new show did it, but remember when Blackthorn gave him the contract for the geisha, for the lady that he was in love with, the for lack of better terms, the whore that he was in love with. In the old show, he gave him the paper like, I know you want this lady, so I'm going to give it to you. And like, I think that really elevated, because Blackthorn's like kind of like position with Yomi, versus like in the new show. I'm pretty sure he did it, but like it didn't feel like it was deserved or earned to the new version of that character, because he just was like an annoying character that was like really mad at Blackthorn or really upset with him because he was getting all this attention. That's the son right there.
Yeah. Okay. I was like, okay, yeah. I've seen him before. Yeah. He's just, yeah, he's regal, and he does what he's told. He didn't slip like a moron. He didn't make a moronic mistake by starting, like he fired the cannons. He had the cannons fired or something because Yomi, the new show's Yomi, put him up to it or something, planted the idea in his head. if I remember correctly,
Yeah,
and that was
and
because the
mhm,
a whore planted that idea in Yomi's head because Yomi was, you know, hanging out
yeah.
with ladies of the night.
Yeah, the ladies night. So there's a lot of stuff here that we would have to see in the book to see what was really translated. I'm thinking that the older show followed the book much more, whereas the newer show, like you said, they're trying to be the next Game of Thrones, so they're gonna have like a lot of these like modern storytelling elements, like with one character causing all the trouble behind the scenes, and like having all these repercussions later on. Um, yeah, it's just okay. Here's another point I just remembered because you're showing the sailors here. So
Yeah,
like, I liked how in the old show Blackthorn put them in their place when they were becoming a bit too rowdy later on, and how like they were not being respectful to the Japanese like culture. Whereas in the new show, like you don't really see them in the new show except for like maybe a couple scenes and that's it. Because
yeah,
later on in this older show, uh, they need to he takes a couple of his crewmates on a ship. And it's during the same scene where they need to denounce the samurai need to denounce their like Catholic like faith or whatever in front of him. And
yeah.
that same scene, um, his crewmate got a little rough with Blackthorn, and you saw everybody reach for their swords, like getting ready to basically strike him down right there. And he's like,
Mm-hmm.
"If you want to keep your head, you better like not make any sudden movements." And he was like basically scolding him for like being a bit of a barbarian because a lot of the sailors were acting like barbarians to the Japanese people, obviously. But that's something you don't really see in the new show, and
No.
because they don't focus on that, they kind of use them as like a plot device and then they throw them away later. So
Yeah, and here's another interesting thing. Like in this show, to kind of keep like they just threw the guy in the kettle in the new show. Like they're like, oh, we're gonna put one of you to death, and so they throw the guy. They
a
just
random guy,
throw
yeah,
him. They just throw one of the European one of his crew into a big vat of soy sauce, water and soy sauce, boiling soy sauce. They
yeah,
just throw him in, and I guess he doesn't know how to climb out. So like they could climb. I would rather. I mean, if I was in that position, I would rather climb out and get hit with an arrow than boil to death.
yeah.
In this show, in the old show, to keep them from doing that, they put them in a net and then they lower them into
Yes.
the vat, which is, oh my gosh, way worse.
And don't forget the way they chose. They had to choose
Yeah,
who
they had
was
to
going to go in
draw.
the
They had to draw
pot.
lots, literally. Oh, this is the old show's Nomi. By the way, look at that face.
The
Does that
he's
look like
basic
does that look like a face of emotion?
and
No,
ready to cry.
ready to cry or ready to get angry. Like the new shows Nomi, like he was angry when he killed that when he beheaded the guy in the street in the old show or the new show. In this show, he's just like whoop, like that, like with
And
no
then
thought
walks
to it,
away.
no, and just
Yeah.
walks away. Why? Because I think because the fishing boat guy,
He didn't bow.
he didn't, yeah, exactly, he
He
didn't
didn't
bow. That
bow.
that was it.
Yeah.
That was
And he
it.
got his head removed. Yep.
That's it.
Yeah, yeah, anyways, we don't have to keep beating a dead horse. Just like in general, the way they portrayed the classic or historical Japanese people in the new show was just like it felt like unnatural and definitely told from like a westerner's like perspective to match with the Game of Thrones style of like storytelling or character. Yeah, here we go. Yeah. So they did bind him up here. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, they
They
did.
bound him up. Yeah, he's
Oh,
bound up
okay.
there. Oh, there's that guy there too.
I would have still tried to climb out though. I would have like
Yeah, you can move
I would have
around. Yeah,
used my core. I would have used my core. Well, probably they would have probably
but
tried to push me in, but I would have been like I would have rather fallen and yeah. There you go.
but yeah, this guy here, like, he was all mad because like he wanted this whore right
Oh,
here.
oh no, I don't want that. Here's no
Yeah,
here's Nomi right here's Nomi. This
and like
look at that
yeah,
face. Like, does that look like a face of stoicism right there?
yeah. I don't know. It's like I can't really recommend the news show unless like you really want to hear Japanese people and like the political uh, games happening in the background. But even then, it's just like it has too much of the Hollywood stench, in my opinion, on it that I can't rewatch it. I can rewatch the '80s show any day of the week. I mean, it's just a fantastic work of art there, in my opinion.
Yeah, and like you said, like he has a scruffy face. Like this doesn't look very regal. Like look at this. Like
I know it's supposed to imply that he's not like really, for this character specifically, it's supposed to imply that he doesn't really care so much about his status, but I think that goes against like the real like Japanese honor system that they have, that it doesn't matter what their status is, they give 110% of their effort into it. I think it goes against that. Oh, here's the famous scene that you're talking about earlier.
this is the guy. That's him. Same character. Look. I mean, he has a mustache. I mean, maybe the mustache is permitted, but clean shaven and looks a lot more. I mean, he's a little fatter too, but he's a lot more regal than his counterpart, and a little more ruthless.
He writes a poem too, right? Remember, he writes a poem here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And then the old guy is alive. The old guy doesn't die.
Yeah, so this old guy, he doesn't really have much of a story in the old show. He was sent to the village. They captured the ship there, and that's about it. And you see him in scenes here and there. Whereas in the new show, he's more or less like a mentor to Toranaga because they fought in a battle. They fought in many battles when he was younger. And so they show more of a relationship between the two because they had to set that up in order for that famous scene of that guy taking his own life in front of Toranaga. Because, again, there's a lot of like plot points that are different, right? Toranaga's son doesn't die in the old show, but he dies in the new show. And because he dies in the new show and he doesn't want to fight for their freedom, his mentor takes his own life in front of everybody, and that's all because of the new shows, like all the different plots that are in it. So yeah, there's just like it's just weird, like as far as like the differences. But yeah, this guy's a loser. That guy right there. No, I will give him credit. His Japanese was actually really good, so they definitely put him in front of a dialect coach or a language coach, and he definitely trained on his Japanese. But man, he's an absolute loser. He was annoying me.
This guy, that guy this is his counterpart in this original show. Where's that?
Later on,
him
right there. Yeah.
That's his counterpart. And you know what? This guy is a lot more sinister. He looks a lot more sinister. They're actually enemies. Like he's not like that scene with that one, samurai, he's like, I'm going to excommunicate you. He was like, he was in charge. He was the one in power. He's like, I'm going to excommunicate you. And he was the reason of a lot of tension. So that like this, I think he's way more interesting than nice guy, Friar Tuck, even though they're supposed to be Jesuits. At least
I wanted to say, I don't think the new show even included it, but remember the scene between Alvito and Blackthorn, and he gives him the dictionary, the Portuguese to Japanese dictionary? That was a pretty important scene as well, because at that point, Alvito realized that there's no getting rid of Blackthorn. So instead of burning bridges or whatever, he figured it'd be better to build bridges with him. And so he does that by giving him the dictionary. And I thought that was a very interesting event that happens.
So, by the way, we got an appearance from Indiana Jones himself, and I don't know if that's supposed to be the angry video game nerd in that. That's probably is, but yeah. So, Sala's here. There's Sala, Indiana Jones, Sala. You remember each other? So, yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. He was in the 5th Indiana Jones. Yeah. Moment of silence for another franchise ruined. Oh well. Dr. Jones, excuse me. Dr. Jones.
But if you want to wrap this up, man, I would say there was one final point I wanted to make on it, but you can go ahead. It's your show.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I love to. I mean, just to wrap this up. I still haven't finished this, but I mean, if you want something, if you want a series that is a story from beginning to end, um, feels like it's complete, doesn't squander its plot points or subplots like uh, like the new show does. I mean, the new show felt like it was building up to a big battle, and we didn't get to see the battle. Whereas I don't think the original show really built up to a battle as much as it did, because there wasn't nearly the amount of intrigue that the new show had. So, um, but also, I mean, it's a breath of fresh air if you're looking for an older show that just doesn't have like a lot of the stuff, a lot of the tropes, the nonsense that they're doing now. So that's all I can say. Um, Great. I mean, these two right here have a great chemistry. Toshiro Mifune is great. The cinematography is beautiful. There's a lot of color. Japan is beautiful. It's all practical sets. The sets look very detailed, look very Japanese. This feels, I mean, this is a stranger in a strange land type of story. Those are always fun and entertaining, and can be tense because you don't know how things are going to you don't know how uh, cultures are going to collide in certain ways, or ideas or worldviews are going to collide. Like the Japanese of 1600 have a totally different type of culture. Like like you said, you don't do something, you get your head cut off at any moment. So there's that sense of suspense right there for you're in the shoes of Blackthorn in Japan, and it's just, it was a lot of fun. And this was, I mean, this was event television. I mean, this was an event miniseries. I mean, following up other shows, like, I think, you ever hear of Roots, AC?
No.
About the slave trade. Kuta
Oh,
Kinte,
Roots.
LeVar Burton, who plays LaForge in Star Trek: The Next Generation, plays a slave that's caught and taken to America from Africa and all that. So I've seen like the first episode, but I haven't seen like the entire thing. And that came out the same year as Star Wars. So like these type of things were like these type of book adaptations were becoming more and more of a thing for TV.
Hmm.
So, and I mean, this was, I mean, like you said, revolutionary. Like they talked about they talked about, like, you hear the word piss on TV for the first time. They talk about certain aspects of sexuality that are a little taboo to this day, but they it was simply implied. Like, remember when they're asking, who do you want to sleep with,
The
and
pillowing, that
and
cracks
she
me
and
up.
she says, oh, do you want a boy? And he's like, no, I don't want a boy. And I was thinking, interesting, because the actor that played Richard Chamberlain is very gay.
Oh, that's funny.
And I read up on him. He was married to a dude who was 20 years younger than him. So there you go.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. So yeah. So, but that being said, I mean, it's just it was ahead of its time. And
Well,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, the one thing that you mentioned, and I wanted to close off on it was, so for those who don't know, the new show is getting a second and third season, which makes no sense because the first show is, or excuse me, the first season is supposed to cover the entire book, and the book
Yes.
is like, it's 1,000 pages. It's just really long. There's a lot that happens in it, but they decided that they're gonna do a seasons 2 and 3, and a lot of us, or especially a lot of the people that have read the book and they know the story, they're like, what are they going to adapt? Because there's nothing to adapt. So that's why I'm cautioning people, and I'm also really concerned that this just gives them way too much creative freedom
Yes.
to turn this show into some modern day, I don't know, I guess political horn or something.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen it with all these other shows that are out there these days, right? So
Yep.
I that's why I have an issue with the show, is that, like, they didn't view this first season as like a one and done. They're like, no, we're gonna do 2 seasons, extra 2 seasons, and we don't have any source materials. So
It seemed like, based on what I've noticed, and maybe this might not be true, but it seems like the journalists, like like those video game journalist outlets, those outlets that cover pop culture, like your IGNs and all that, it seemed like they were bugging them, begging
yeah,
them for another season. It's weird how like they have this power like, you know, to influence that type of thing, which is, in my opinion, I mean, I noticed things going downhill as early as 2017 with them promoting certain things. I was just like, why are you promoting this? So
Yeah, it's weird, man.
and then they helped. They were the reason why we have. I mean, outlets like that are the reason why we have a culture war in the first place. And the reason why I mean, I can't fully blame it. It's how Hollywood makes the ultimate decisions. I feel like there's this influence that they have that is just ruined a lot of stuff. I don't know if fans have been asking for season 2. When I was watching this, I had this conversation with Prophet. It felt, like I said, it felt like they were building up to a battle. Like, I thought we were going to see, like, you know, Toranaga basically, you know, pull a, you know, a Tokugawa and literally unify. We were going to see him unify Japan and take out the. We're going to see that battle of Sakakigara, which they showed in the epilogue, which they show like a flash forward of. So they did include it, but I thought we were going to build up to that. That's what I thought, instead of it just ending with him beheading Yabu. Yabu-sama.
Yes, what I heard, because I talked to James, the Junja Ninja, he's a big fan of the book, and some other people. They said that the book doesn't end really with a battle. Like, it builds up to it, but like they don't talk about it. Because that's not like the whole point to show that. It's to show like Blackthorn, his character, what he's gone through, and what it leads up to, and everything, or like what his character leads up to. And like some people said that like the way the end of the show was fine. I don't care. I think the way the end of the '80s show was fine. It was like more open ended, and if anything, it forces you to go read the original book.
Yeah.
So, but. Yeah, like it was weird. Like the way that the new show was designed, you would think they would have ended it on like, yeah, a battle, like showing more of it. But they did show that like the political movement that was done with Toranaga, and how like he was able to convince the not, I don't remember her name, but like she was basically like not the queen, but she was like the strongest lady in Japan to like back his side of the war.
The one that has the son, right? The one that was the consort of the daimyo, the one that had the
daimyo's
son.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was curious what was going to happen with that, because we know that Tokugawa takes over Japan, and everything, becomes the shogun, but the thing was, the son of the daimyo of the deceased daimyo was supposed to take over. So I was curious how they were going to clash. Like, were they going to have the kid assassinated or something? Did they fight the kid? Did the kid challenge him for Shogun? And they didn't even mention the emperor. Like I said, they never mentioned the emperor in the new show. The emperor's mentioned in this show, in the old show. So I don't know.
Well, the way it was implied in the new show is that Toranaga was kind of like, he took it upon himself to take care of the kid and basically protect him until it was time for the kid to take over as the ruler.
As basically a regent. So yeah,
like as the new daimyo, whenever he becomes old enough to become the new. So that's how I interpreted it, as well as they did that in the old show a little bit, because they only show that kid for a little bit. But I thought they made it pretty clear for the new show. And I completely forgot to mention this. The scene, one of my favorite scenes in the old show, is the scene where this guy, he's up talking to that consort, the strongest lady in all of Japan. Remember that scene? There's like a ton of people in that room because she invited him to the palace, and like he's like, "Well, I'm gonna give her a gift." Yeah, this scene right here. So he gives her a flower, and he says, like, you know, in my country, we, even if she's a queen, we must give her a present. And then she takes it as like, well, I'm not really a queen, but thank you for the gesture. But that whole scene was like really nice, because she knew that like she could tell like he understands her position. And like the guy behind her, who's basically the Lord of Osaka Castle,
that's his shit. Yeah, like that.
Yeah, he did not like that, and he was like yelling at him. And then Blackthorn stands up in front of him and says like, "I am samurai. I am not barbarian," in like Japanese. And it was that scene. I was dying laughing, because it's just like not how ridiculous it was, but just like how like kind of well done it was presented. And like he went back and sat down in the crowd. But it was so funny just to see him like like he had the balls on him. I can't see the new Blackthorn doing that at all. That the new Blackthorn would have no balls to do that. So, but anyways, yeah, that's as far as like what I wanted to finish on, like the new seasons 2 and 3, whenever they do come out, I'm looking forward to tearing it apart. I might have to we might have to do some shows about it, tearing it apart.
Okay. How am I looking now?
You're coming in and out with your feed. I think your audio might be consistent, but it does robot a little bit.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, my internet is
Yeah.
really low for this. Oh, man,
Somebody
seriously.
downloading something on your side.
Not here. No. So,
Oh,
um,
okay.
I'll let, I'm gonna try something. Want to vamp for me?
Sure. I'll take over. Um, but yeah, so for those of you guys watching, highly recommend go check out the 1980s miniseries Shogun, and obviously read the book if you have the time to read a 1,000-page book. I'm gonna see if I can find an audiobook for it because I'm down to listening to it. I just can't see myself reading that right now. But it definitely does a very good job showcasing or representing like historical Japan done in with like the Hollywood type of like what do you call it? Like, um, anyways, yeah, the Hollywood type of show to it, I guess. And it's a very nice show to watch. I don't think it's too old, meaning like it's not boring because it's like a 1980s show. I think it holds up really well, and especially with everything that's come out in the recent years. But yeah, it's a fantastic show. And as somebody that like lives out here and like has done a little bit of research, has interacted with people, like I think it does a fantastic job, kind of showcasing like old school Japan, but for like a Western audience. Um, a movie that I do want to watch that is kind of like from that same time period is called Kubi. It's a Japanese movie, and it released about I think a couple months before the Shogun show came out, and it was it looks really interesting because it takes place in like this like Edo or not even Edo, but this old time Japan, 15th, 16th century Japan, and I'm very curious to see like I don't know how it compares to Shogun. I did ask a couple of my Japanese friends if they planned on watching Shogun, and a couple of them said yes, but I haven't heard back from them if they finished it or not. So I should have hit them up before we did this show because I could have got some more insight on it. But I know somebody like my wife who's not a big historical person. She really wasn't impressed with. Oh, I guess we lost him. She really wasn't impressed with the new show as far as like how they portrayed some certain things, and I thought like I agree with her, or I agree from my perspective of what I understand, my understanding of ancient or not even ancient, but old Japanese culture. So, but yeah, for those of you who are joining in now, the host, Chillporeal, he's having like internet issues, so I'm just trying to keep the stream afloat until he comes back. But I appreciate, I guess, everybody that's been watching, coming on and off. Hopefully, you guys are enjoying the talk. Once he comes back, I want to talk about video games because him and I we like to argue about video games from time to time. But no, we want to talk about some specific video games. So um, besides that, for those of you in the chat, have you guys seen any of these shows? Have you read the book? Uh, Shogun, this is the show we're talking about. Let me know, and I'll try to read your chat and talk about it because I have no control. I can only just talk right now. But yeah, besides that, trying to think about any new specific. Well, everyone. Okay, we can go back to this. So Toshiro Mifune. I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen like Seven Samurai, Yojimbo. I think it's called. Is it Prison Castle? Is another one of his movies. I'm drawing a blank. Redbeard. Oh, Carl, you have not. Um, yeah, I mean it's up to you, man. I know you're a big history guy. I think you would appreciate the '80s show over the new show because of the historical detail that they put into the '80s show. I think you would really appreciate it. Um, yeah, I think you would like it. I'm actually shocked that you haven't read the book, or considering that you're a big history guy. So maybe we'll have to take that card away from you, Mr. History Nerd. But yeah, so yeah, Toshiro Mifune, fantastic actor. I'm not sure what other movies Chamberlain has been in. I just know him from like this movie, and I thought he killed it, portraying as the critics like to call him, a white savior. I think that was a really really dumb take from modern Hollywood to try to diminish that, even though the original show, and I would say even the book, does not have that in there, because he doesn't do any saving. He's just there trying to survive and incorporate himself, or integrate himself with the culture there. He's not trying to change the culture. I would say the Portuguese Catholic Jesuits, they're the ones that are trying to change the culture there. So they're the ones that should be focused on for their I guess you could say colonialism that they're trying to do. Whereas he is just trying to survive and incorporate into their culture, the Japanese culture. You're Carl saying the best show that depicts the best portal of history is Band of Brothers. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I would say yeah, that's a really good show, very touching show. And I guess, how many historical shows have you seen, my friend? Educate the audience for us while I wait for Napoleon to come back. He's restarting his computer. So um, besides that, I mentioned it earlier in the stream, but using on-set locations like in Japan was a necessary thing for this show. Um, it looks really fake in the newer show because of the green screens or the void, or however they shot it. Um, but yeah, the older show, just like how they're actually there shooting in front of these castles that you could actually go visit today. Himeji Castle is a beautiful castle to go visit. It's one of the largest castles you can visit in Japan right now. You can actually go inside the walls of the castle, which is really cool, or like the perimeter, I guess you can say. Really neat little system there. And obviously, you could go up and down the main castle itself. It's really cool. And the other castle they showed was called Hakone Castle, which I've been there, or I've driven through, but I think I've been up to it. And that's also another beautiful castle that's still around. A lot of castles in Japan, though, I will say, are actually, for the most part, recreations, because everything's like pretty flammable in Japan. So things have burned down and been rebuilt over time. So a lot of the stuff is like basically recreations. The most obvious one is Osaka Castle. If you go to Osaka Castle, it's got the famous green roof with like the golden detailing. The inside of it has like a working elevator. It has like two elevators, and it's like, it looks nothing like the original castle, obviously, because it's supposed to like kind of showcase a little bit like a mini museum of what the original castle looked like. But it is a pretty cool castle to go inside, nonetheless. They have some nice merchandise there too, if you're curious about it. But yeah, it's when you go to these castles in Japan, it's more about the landscape and like how everything was built up on layers. You get to see kind of like the perimeter of it. Um, there is a couple places, like a couple museums you can go to. Oh, he's back. What's up?
How
I
you
don't think
doing?
you're. Oh, there you go. But you're still like, your internet's still pretty bad.
Oh well, I tried.
You
So,
tried. Well, we'll push through it.
what are you
Like,
talking about?
I was just telling people about castles in Japan, of what I know of and what I've been to.
Okay, cool. I definitely want to check some of these places out.
If you want to just throw on your avatar, your audio comes through fine. It'll robot just a little bit, but it's not like stopping the show. So
Okay, well then, yeah. Well, okay, cool. So, yeah, that's Shogun. So definitely check it out. And well, AC, you want to talk about video games? Let's talk about some video games since Adam's here.
yes, I'm old. You know me. I love arguing with you about video games. That's what I told the chat earlier.
Well, sometimes some of your takes are just there's we agree on a lot, but we disagree on a lot too. So you know what that makes us human.
Yes, it makes us
So
human.
yeah, so nothing odd about that. So, but yeah, you playing the Mario and Luigi um um the what was that one called, the
Mario and
Partners in
Luigi
Time.
Partners in Time.
it's making me want to play more of the Mario and Luigi games now. So I forget you don't have to play them in any particular order, right? They're not like directly related to each other. Like you could play any one in any order. So you could play like Paper Jam or Dream Team or Bowser's Inside Story at any point.
Yeah. I've actually played them out of order, but there's like no like as far as like order of release, and there's no real like direct connection. Just there are some subtle references across the different games. So like Partners in Time has a couple like one character that is referenced and used in Superstar Saga as well as Bowser's Inside Story, but it doesn't affect like the actual game or the main story at all. It's just like a slight reference. So yeah, you could play them out of like any order.
Okay, well, I'm probably gonna play. I mean, I've said this so many times. If I'm gonna play one, I'm probably gonna. I have the 3DS Bowser's Inside Story, so I'll probably play that.
Oh, that's fine. Perfect. Yeah.
I got that. I don't think I have the DS Partners in Time anymore. But I got the. But I do have the other two. I do have Paper Jam and I do have Dream Team, which I still haven't touched. And I've. That's my problem. Is I own games. I buy games. But I don't play them. Or I forget to play them.
I think there's someone in the chat that's similar to you in that regard. Buys games and doesn't play them.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a little guilty of it. That's why I'm trying to play catch up. But I'm playing through Dream Team right now because I finished Bowser's Inside Story for like the second time in my life. And so I'm moving forward and playing Dream Team. And that's a really fun game because actually it allows you to have omnidirectional movements. So instead of like up down or like I guess what would it be quadro movement or whatever, quadro directional movement, so only like up and down, left and right. This has like more of a 3D like omnidirectional movement feel to it. The battle mechanic is really interesting to it, and the story so far is like it's okay. Like I'm waiting to see where it builds up, but it's a really cool game. I'm actually glad I'm playing through that. But Superstar Saga, especially the 3DS version, that's a great version to start off on. I think the graphics look really good for that game, as well as like the user friendliness of it.
Yeah, that's the only one I played, and I like it because it feels like a follow up to Mario RPG. Maybe it's because of Yoko Shimomura's music. Like she reuses themes from uses themes from the from Mario RPG, especially like Mario's pad theme, for instance. So
yeah,
I actually enjoyed it. That actually is a pretty solid game. I just it's because it's handheld. Like I didn't really start taking handheld seriously until maybe 2010, and I finally started playing I started playing my DS. I started playing some more Game Boy Advance games. So I play like Fusion and Zero Mission and Minish Cap for the first time, and I really enjoyed those. And I bought more DS games. I played a few of them. I didn't really like the DS itself as much. I'm not the biggest fan of the dual screen. Like I don't know, it was weird when I first played it when it came out, and I mean I think I'm used to it now with 3DS, but I haven't really played. I mean, I enjoyed New Super Mario Brothers, but I haven't really played a whole lot. I haven't really been a whole lot on the handheld. So, I mean, for me growing up with the Game Boy, I mean, I had to beg my parents to buy 4 AA batteries because we never had enough AA batteries in the house. And so, if we didn't have AA batteries, I couldn't play my Game Boy. And so, if I wanted to play Super Mario Land or Tetris or DuckTales. Yes, DuckTales was also on Game Boy. We needed batteries, and we didn't have it, believe it or not. So that's why I didn't really play it. And my brother always, my younger brother always kind of, took the Game Boy or the Game Boy Advance and left it on the floor, ruined it. So, so I ended up losing both. So, but going, but.
They're great games, man. You should definitely give them a shot.
Yeah, I mean, I have what do I have on 3DS? Right, I still have Kid Icarus Uprising. I have yeah, I have all the Mario.
Oh, that's a good game. Yeah, I want to try that game.
Yeah, that's I don't know if you know that's Sakurai.
Sakurai, yeah.
Yeah, from Smash Brothers. So I'm trying to see what else I got. Bravely Default is another one. I'll be right back. I'm going to grab my 3DS games. Let me be right back.
Well, for some of the games that I've played that I enjoyed on the 3DS, the Kirby games are really good on the 3DS. I think they're fun, a lot of fun to play. Kirby's Epic Yarn, I have it on the Wii, but I know they made a 3DS port. I've always wanted to play it, but it got like a little too expensive for me. Obviously, you've got Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask you can play on the 3DS, but Link Between Worlds is the better of the Zelda games to play on the 3DS. And Mario Kart 7 is a lot of fun on the 3DS. And of course, there is the Fire Emblem games. If you're into the Fire Emblem games, some of the best Fire Emblem games are on the 3DS. Yeah, the 3DS it has quite the lineup of games to it that a lot of people I think slept on. Oh, the picture.
Does it look that bad still?
Yeah, like it's not even loading or rendering like your screen right now. It's like 1 frame a second.
Oh no way!
Yeah, it's still.
I have to get a new computer. So, I mean, where's the right stop cam? But yeah, a Dream
Read them out
Team,
loud.
Kid Icarus Uprising, Star Fox 64 3D, Sonic. Believe it or not, I still have Sonic Generations 3DS.
Oh, for the 3DS, that's cool. Okay.
Yeah, so 3DS version had Mushroom Hill Zone for the Sonic.
It had Radical Highway.
It had Radical Highway. Did they have? Yeah,
it had the Sonic Adventure 1 first level, Azure, Blue World, or Emerald Coast, or not Emerald Coast. Whatever the first level is in Sonic Adventure, it has that one in there as well.
It's Emerald Coast.
It's Emerald Coast, okay.
I still have my copy of Zelda Spirit Tracks, which I still haven't been to this day. Samus Returns played. Liked it. Nice. Don't like it as much as Dread, but hey, whatever. I have both Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask 3D. I still have to beat Majora's Mask 3D. I still have to play the freaking Master Quest for Ocarina of Time. Call me a big Ocarina of Time fan. I haven't even played the Master Quest yet.
Big fan exposed.
Maybe I'm a gamer girl after all. Whoops.
Yep.
I got Yoshi's New Island. Have you ever played that one? Yoshi's New Island?
Not the 3DS one. I want to give it a shot though.
3D. I still have Super Mario 3D Land. Great game. New Super Mario Brothers 2. Played that once with all the golden coins. Paper Mario Sticker Star, which I still haven't beaten.
That one's a fun game. It's not too bad. It's a simple game to play through.
Yeah, and I got Super. I have Paper Jam. What was it Paper Jam? Yeah, I got. What's funny is they're in red cases, and what's funny is my Bowser's Inside Story is still in its. It's still wrapped in cellophane.
Oh wow!
It's still wrapped in cellophane.
That's crazy, dude. Because all the games you listed, I have them on digital, because I forgot to buy a bunch of the physicals. So like you got some value right there. I would never let go of those games unless you really need the cash. That's awesome though.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying. Like I've been getting rid of games just for shelf space, and now I'm regretting it. So, but yeah, I'm gonna try and keep these. I'm not gonna get rid of them. And of course, my favorite game on the 3DS is. I'm sure you can. I think you can guess what my favorite game on 3DS is.
It's A Link Between Worlds.
Yep, you got it.
Yeah, it's a fantastic game. The
only issue I have with that game is is like they're really trying to be non-linear, so you could just buy everything instead of just like seeking it out and finding it. But that's just I never rented it. Like I would just keep collecting rupees and then just buy it outright.
Oh yeah, because it was really easy to collect rupees in that game. Like it wasn't much of a chore to just go around and especially per dungeon and everything. Like you can collect enough rupees to buy every item you needed for the dungeon, or like the initial item for the dungeon. It's a fantastic game.
Yeah, I mean I liked it a lot. I mean I feel like you should just. I mean, you make Low Rule the Dark World. Just call it the Dark World. Why is it gotta be Low Rule or something? Just say, hey, well, the Dark World vanished. Well, the Dark World actually vanished. So, but why make Low Rule just like the Dark World? for the member berries.
Um,
That's my only issue. Because the Dark World was supposed to be an evil version of Hyrule, twisted and turned from the Golden Land or the Sacred Realm. And then the Dark World vanishes and becomes the Golden Land again. I'm sorry, I'm really old school with this because I still have the Link to the Past prologue in my head, and they don't call the Sacred Realm was a thing that started with the Ocarina of Time. So
okay.
I still call it the Golden Land. But like the Golden Land should still exist, but why would so I'm wondering if Lorule is supposed to be the Golden Land or is it supposed to be something else? Oh wait, it's not. It has like its own Triforce and its own Golden Land. It's like an opposite
Yeah, it's supposed to
realm
be
or
kind of
something.
like the
And
Twilight realm in Twilight Princess.
it's like the Upside Down actually. In
Well,
Stranger
yeah.
Things, it's literally upside down. Like even the Triforce is upside down.
Yep. Yep.
So I don't know, but I like the game. I like the game a lot. I like the dungeons. I like some of the additional dungeons. Like I like the whole painting and the wall thing gave it that 3D feel that I thought was really fresh. And hey, they wouldn't have gotten that idea if they didn't, play Ocarina of Time with the whole Ganon coming out of the painting boss fight.
Yeah.
So, but I am looking forward to Echoes of Wisdom. I'm hoping I'll like it. I'm gonna see it for myself. I mean, I know you didn't like the Link's Awakening. I like the Link's Awakening for the Switch. So I'm curious. Like, do you think it's gonna be good? I know you have some misgivings about it, or maybe
Oh
you
no,
don't.
I don't. No. I think it's going to be amazing.
So
As far as like,
you're just teasing me then. Okay, never mind.
what did I like, remind me? What did I say to you then that I guess
You're
would
like
have?
you watch this 5 minutes like how like this seems like to be more like Tears of the Kingdom mechanics and everything. You're trying to get me worked up. I know.
Oh yeah, that was totally targeted to you because I knew you would fall for that. I was just trying to be funny about how like yeah, it's got like this open world aspect to it. The menu navigation is very similar to Tears of the Kingdom Breath of the Wild. There's like side quests that are like similar to Tears of the Kingdom Breath of the Wild as far as like how they look like they're constructed. But no, I think it's gonna be a really interesting game because you can traverse across Hyrule your own way, and instead of like flying or using, maybe there is teleportation in that game, but we're gonna have those dungeons again because it looks like we'll have those traditional dungeons that we have to solve. We could solve very creatively. There'll be different ways of solving those dungeons. Um, I think it's gonna be a really fun game to play. I'm very curious how long it's gonna be. I hope it's not Breath of the Wild long, but I hope it's not short as well. I hope it's like a decent sized game to play. Plus, because I won't have a lot of time to play it, so we'll see. I don't know if I'll be able to beat it by October or mid October. But yeah, man, I'm also very curious lore wise how they're gonna tackle it because you got the River Zora and the Ocean Zora coming together in the same world. You've got the Deku shrubs, the Gerudo, the Gorons are all together. Like there's a lot of interesting like characters that are all being thrown together in the same world. And then I think at the end of this trailer here, this is like the latest trailer that released. There was a scene where Zelda looks like she's stepping into like the purple void, and I'm wondering if we're gonna have like an alternate world that we're gonna go to um in this game. Yeah, see, look at this. Look at this right here, man. Like it looks the way they have the UI set up here looks very similar to Breath of the Wild. Main quest, and then you got the lettering there and then open log, and so they're definitely copying and pasting like what kind of worked for the last two Zelda games. Like look at this menu navigation right here.
Yeah, I'm seeing
That's
it. Yeah,
yeah.
I see now. I see what you're getting at. The whole thing, the main quest thing, was something that really turned me off when I first played Breath of the Wild. Like you're making this like a typical open world game. Like this is not typical. Zelda has never been a typical game. It's always been its own thing. So I don't know. That was just what was going through my mind when I'm seeing this. Like
I think
I
what
would
it
expect to see something like this in like an Elder Scrolls game or a Fallout game, but in
yeah.
Zelda, I'm like,
I think it just shows how kind of like dumb gamers have gotten, because instead of talking to all the NPCs in the different world like environments you go to, they have to show the player the direction via these quest lines right here. Like we're so right now you're on the main quest tab, right? That's what they're showing, and there's like four different quests going on. One of them you can't really access, so you can access these different quests individually. It looks like, right, similar to Link Between Worlds, where you could go to different dungeons at your own leisure as long as you had the right item. But that is something you would only know unless you talk to like the NPCs or you looked at the map, because the map would indicate like, hey, you need to go to these 8 different locations. They didn't tell you how to get there because some of them you had to go between the Hyrule and Lorewell sections in order to get to it. But I think it just shows like kind of like how either dumb or how easy they're making games for people to figure out where to go instead of just like aimlessly wandering around and exploring. So
Yeah, I mean, for like looking at this, like you, for a second, we thought that this was going to be the world of the Link to the Past because the castle's in the middle. It looks like it's the same setup though, and then you have this area right here,
yeah,
and then you have what looks like the upper lands right here. You have these little arches that you go up, and then the Eastern Palace would be over here, and then you have Death Mountain in the back.
yep,
Um, the only thing is, I guess they expanded it. Like this is supposed to be, I think, the Lost Woods over here.
yeah.
Um, they even have a similar cave opening right here. There you go.
Yeah, and you also have the lake right there that she's standing in front of. Like you've got
Like this would be the island Pond of Happiness right here, I think. Yeah,
yeah,
and she'd be standing like, yeah, like here where there would be like a heart piece, I think. The only thing is there should be like a mountain here, or there should be like some sort of outcropping with a little cave or something over here. So it's not quite the same. But I know they took a whole lot of inspiration from A Link to the Past.
yeah. We'll see. I guess when we get the full map and we get to explore it, but I'm very excited because like it's a new Zelda game, so it's hard for me to really be like super upset about a new Zelda game, especially with like a new mechanic to it, like how you play it. I'm very curious to see it. I'm okay with this art style. Like for this game, it's fine. It's not like that big of an issue. And I'm perfectly fine playing as Zelda because, I mean, they're trying something new here, and I'm all for devs trying something new as long as it doesn't like disrespect what they've created before, or they don't go after fans and disrespect fans. Um,
Yeah.
so I think this is gonna be really cool, man. Like, there's all these different like copy abilities you can find, and it's gonna be like a really interesting way to traverse Hyrule. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. I mean, I'm a sucker for 2D games. I mean, or 2D Zeldas. I mean, this was stuff that I started. This was stuff that, this was my beginning into Zelda. So, I mean, I think this looks pretty solid. I'm curious if the gameplay is going to pay off. But yeah, I definitely plan to pick this up. So it comes out, I know, in September. So right here. So I am looking forward to this one. I'm actually looking for I'll be honest. And what's funny is there's a rumor that there's going to be another direct coming up, which I don't think is going to happen.
Oh
To
yeah,
the
I heard about that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like what I mean, it seems like they made the bulk of their announcements in June, so I don't know what else they would announce. I don't think it would be anything really new. So,
It could be the Donkey Kong expansion to like the Universal, or they could go more into depth about this game as well as the Mario and Luigi Brothership game that's coming out. Um, yeah, it is weird that they're gonna announce one. Who knows, like exactly, but it is. Yeah, I did find it a bit odd. I was like, I think we're pretty content with what we got right now, so we're just waiting for games to release.
yeah, I mean, I really did enjoy the direct. I mean, definitely check out me and AC reacting to June's direct and all that. It's on my channel somewhere. But this was like I did not see like any of this coming. Like the Prime 4, it was like you have to show something by now. But like this, like seeing this brothership game, which actually looks really good. I'm liking the art style. I like the pencil drawn. You see the outlines there and all that. I'm kind of liking this new style.
Yeah, this was easily one of the best Nintendo Directs in like many years. I mean, they hit like all the right notes for like game releases.
Yeah, the only thing that was missing for me was, I mean, heck no, everything that I cared about, every franchise, every Nintendo franchise I cared about was covered in Mario, Zelda, Metroid, and Donkey Kong. All four were covered in one direct, in one way or another.
Yep.
Even though the Donkey Kong one was basically an HD version, but hey, I'm okay with that. So I'm surprised that one's coming out later. Like you think that one would come out sooner?
Yeah, it might be. I'm not sure when the Donkey Kong expansion will be finished at Universal because they've had. I think they've delayed it a little bit, but it might be just in timing for that expansion. So that's why they put the game out a little bit later. Um, Also, like if you think about it, you've got Zelda and Mario releasing within a couple months,
Yeah.
and then you're gonna drop Donkey Kong, which is like not it hasn't been like the biggest franchise for Nintendo, so it's safer to put it in its own like kind of time of the year. Okay, now I'm excited for this. You're definitely you're
So
gonna get me
I
going
have
here.
so like I still have my copy. I have both copies of I forget I'm not on camera now because of my stupid internet. But I still have my copy of Sonic Generation. So I'm like, is this supposed to be like a follow up to it or something? I'm you see you're
No, this
playing as
is like
Shadow.
basically it's basically a remake of Sonic Generations that released how many years ago? Was it 10 years ago now? And
2011, 20 for its 20th anniversary, for Sonic's
yes,
20th anniversary. So
yes. And what they've done is they're going to add a whole Shadow storyline to the game and expand Shadow the Hedgehog's lore. Because the poor character has only had one game to himself, which I think is one of my favorite games from the GameCube. And then he had some story in Sonic '06, the one of the worst like Sonic games to ever release. And and that was it basically. Oh, and then Adventure 2, obviously, Sonic Adventure 2. So Sega is doing something really cool here, where they're taking a character that a lot of fans love, and they're adding like a whole new like story and like more about his origin here. Because you're probably seeing the show like, why has he got like wings on him? Why is he transforming and all this stuff? Well, that's because Shadow in the game Shadow the Hedgehog finds out that his DNA was fused with alien DNA, and like it's never really explored like how he can utilize that alien DNA. So they're taking that and they're putting it into this game, and they're packaging it with the Sonic Generations. Like the other part of the game. Like this shadow part of the game is it's not going to be as large as the part you played before, the Sonic Generations part of it. But it's like there's so much marketing going towards it, which I think is awesome because again, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 movie is coming out and Shadow's going to be like probably the antagonist in the movie even though he's not really an antagonist. So they're putting all their marketing into Shadow right now, which is like I'm all for it. I love it. That's where it needs to be.
yeah, it seems like, yeah. I mean, they already kind of, didn't they already show that at the end of Sonic the movie too?
Sonic
There's
2,
only
yeah, they
one
showed a
Sonic the
teaser.
Hedgehog 2. I'm sorry. I'm gonna keep saying that. There's only one Sonic 2 and there's only one Sonic 3, and they came out in the 90s.
Oh boy, Mister, Mister over here. Yeah, so they teased Shadow at the end of the Sonic 2 movie, and of course he's going to be in the third movie.
So you think they're are they gonna do you think they're gonna directly adapt Sonic Adventure 2, or do you think they're gonna do something else with it with Shadow?
I think it'll be similar, but I think they're going to put their own twist on it. Like it's going to have
Like
some
how did
similar elements to it.
now I know you're watching Sonic X, which is not the best Sonic show. Okay, I'm not, I'm messing with you
I know
guys.
you had to say
I
that.
know I've been I need to watch Sad AM again. Sad AM is awesome. But I haven't gone far enough to where they actually, I think they cover both Adventure's story and Adventure 2. Were those directly adapted, or were they different from how the games did, like how the game
um, more or
basically
less.
okay.
Yeah, more or less. They go more into the character's backstory. So Shadow's backstory with Maria, which is this girl that he knew on the space station that he was created on.
She's supposed to be like
Um,
a cousin of Robotnik, Eggman, right?
yes, she's related to him. Yeah. So they dive more into that. It's been years since I've watched it, so that's why I'm rewatching it now because I don't remember everything, but I remember it following it pretty closely. Obviously, the game itself is a little bit more loose and a little bit more fun with its storytelling. But yeah, more or less, it's pretty similar. So
One thing
um,
one thing I always credit Adventure for, and I still think, and I'm with you. I think Sonic Adventure is the best 3D Sonic. Um, with Adventure 2 following it and Heroes following after that. Um, I liked how they took, because Japan, Robotnik is known as Eggman, and then here in US he was known as Robotnik. I'm like, why are they calling him Eggman? Like, I remember when Sonic Adventure came out in like 98 or 99, I think. I'm like, why the hell are they calling him Eggman? What is this? This doesn't seem to be the Sonic that I grew up with or something. And then I find out I play the game, I play the DX, the director's cut, and I liked how they kind of combined, they kind of brought it together. Like the Eggman was just called Eggman by Sonic. His real name was
yes,
long. I like that. I like how they did that. So, and then they did that further with Sonic Adventure 2, and Gerald Robotnik, and Maria and all that, and then whatever. I'm not sure where I'm going with that, but I liked the 3D games, even though I always say the 2D games. I like the 2D games more because they're consistently good, unlike the 3D games. But 3D games are either hit or miss usually.
well, hold on a second. The 2D games are consistently good up to 1, 2, and 3, and then after that, it starts becoming hit and miss. You could say the same thing with the 3D games.
I mean, there
It,
wasn't really whole. I mean, CD was good. I didn't really come out with a whole lot after that. I mean, until Sonic 4. Everybody hated Sonic 4. I didn't hate it though, but everybody hated Sonic 4. And then Sonic Mania was excellent, masterpiece.
I have no comment for that.
Sonic Mania was a masterpiece. It was made for people like me who grew up on Sonic, 2D Sonic.
I wanted to mention something to you about the Sonic generations you have for the 3DS. So that there's two Sonic 3D games for the 3DS, and there's that one, and then there's Lost World. Generations came out towards the beginning of the 3DS's life, so it doesn't have any 3D stages. It's all 2D, so you're definitely gonna like that. Whereas Lost World on the 3DS actually added 3D stages, so like you're moving around in a three-dimensional plane, and
Lost
so
World, wasn't that was on the Wii, I think,
it was on the Wii U, and they
or
also
Wii U?
released it
Yeah,
on PC. But the Wii U version had two DLCs. It had a Yoshi's Island DLC, and it had a Legend of Zelda DLC, which I completely forgot to nab before the shop went down. Um, but the 3DS version of Generations is like, it is what it is. I really hope that this new game that's coming out includes some of the levels from the 3DS version, because like you mentioned, there's Radical Highway, there's Emerald Coast, there's Mushroom Hill. If they added those into this new version, and also gave like 3D versions of them, which wouldn't be so hard to do. That'd be pretty sick. But I don't know if they're going to add that because they're putting all their money in the Shadow expansion that's coming out. Which there's a lot of stages you'll be able to play as a Shadow, which is really cool.
so
Yeah. So
they use
mm,
Casino Night for this one instead of Chemical Plant. So
mm.
this doesn't look. This looks. I'm liking this. I forgot how much I like this. Mushroom Hill, modern. This looks pretty cool. This looks pretty sick.
Yeah, so I kind of hope they add these. Even if it's like paid DLC later, I'll be down to pay for it. But like, I think when it comes to like redoing a game that had two different versions and you're putting it onto one console now, or like the current generation, you should include all of it together so that everyone can enjoy it at the same time. Because for example, the Donkey Kong Country Returns game, there was some 3DS only content that I think will be added to the Switch version, and so like
Yeah. They added.
that's a
I
good
think they added
point.
like another world or something. I don't know if I ever completed it.
Yeah, oh sorry, the Banana Temple, yeah, or something like that. Yeah, the Golden Temple, or that might be freeze, tropical freeze. But like that's how a game like that should be done. Is you bring all the content together into one umbrella and then you package it that way.
By the way, this boss fight, the remix theme for this was epic as hell. Like I have this soundtrack. The boss fight for this was really done mixed and all that. So
Nice. Yeah, if I want to buy this game and play it on the 3DS because I love the other version, the console version. One of these days I'll get it. But yeah, it's an interesting thing to play. Three handheld Sonic games, I guess you can say.
speaking of Donkey Kong Country, yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I'm definitely looking forward to this one. Like I was blown away when this first came out. Like, look at this.
It's fantastic. Yeah, this they went all out with when the game first came out originally, and like now, I didn't like the 3DS version a whole lot because I thought the graphics were kind of downgraded a bit, but it was still fun to play on the go. But now
Yeah.
that we finally have it on the Switch, which they should have brought that to the Switch first before Tropical Freeze, I'm very curious to see how this looks compared to the Tropical Freeze because Tropical Freeze is a very beautiful looking game on the Switch, even on the Wii U. Um, but this game is like it's not as like colorful, but it still has its own unique palette to it, and I still appreciate it.
Have you noticed that games now because now maybe other games did this before us, but I've never noticed games doing this whole silhouetted thing until this game, and then every other game started trying to kind of copy this aesthetic right here.
I mean I'm with you on that. Maybe people in the chat can let us know, but I always thought that they started this trend of the silhouette, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, I loved how they did it with this. And the music and the atmospheric chill music with
Yeah.
this. And I liked how you still got to see like the colors like his tie is still bright red and Diddy's cap and shirt are
Yes.
still red and all that. So yeah, and everything up, but everything else is silhouetted. So you got to be careful. And sometimes they would blend in with like the floor right here. So you had to be careful. It's stay on your
Yes.
toes.
What's cool too is remember the factory level. You can see a Game and Watch in the background, a Mr. Game and Watch in the background.
Yes, yes. Fair Factory. Yeah, and they did it. And that was one of my actually. I remember being blown away when I first played Donkey Kong Country as a kid, hearing that theme. I was like, this theme is so freaking cool.
Yes. Can you show the beginning with the cutscene of sorry with those two guys? I think it's towards the beginning, like they're standing next to each other.
Who?
Because I want to see if Diddy has Nintendo on his hat, because I think that's been kind of removed over the years. I might be wrong though. Uh, yeah, like Diddy Kong would have like Nintendo stenciled on his cap, but Tic
Yep,
Tac. Oh, it's
yep,
still
right.
there. Okay, good, cool, cool.
Yep, yep. He still has it. So
Yeah, that's a good game to come out. It does suck that it's a full price game though. I think that's a crime that they're selling it at a full price, but it is what it is, right? Us Nintendo guys are going to be spending that money, so I won't because of the conversion. The conversion will bring it down to like $45 for me. You know what's cool too, real quickly? That here in Japan, the case for the Donkey Kong Country Returns is green,
no
and like
way.
yeah, it's really cool. And they're cheap, man. They go for like $3 out here. Like they must have sold a lot out here because there's a huge surplus of them out here. It's a green case. It's really cool.
Hmm. You have to. I'll have to check that out. Interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, Metroid Prime 4. I know this was all the buzz.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know me. You know how unexcited I am for this one, right?
Yeah. We all lost hope for you. We thought you were done with gaming, and then this trailer came out.
Yeah, and then it brightened my prospects for the future, I guess.
Yep.
And then our buddy Kyle Dread Roberts got me playing Elden Ring
Yeah,
until
that I never thought that would have happened.
until Elden Ring failed me.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm not gonna go into it now, but yeah, I honestly, I mean, I'm curious if they're gonna basically. I've asked this before. I'm wondering if they're gonna go back to basics with this, like Metroid Prime 1 basics, like you're on a single world and it's just you exploring. you don't have the use of your ship. It's just you and your wits and your arm cannon and your limited abilities, and then you have to upgrade eventually. So
I don't think that'd be a good idea because they just released the Prime Remastered game, and it would be way too similar to that game, and it would not stand out amongst the other Prime games. So, every Prime game has had its own unique twist to it, and so this game really has to have a good, unique twist to it in order to like
you think
stand out.
they're gonna still have what was in Prime 3, like she's gonna use her ship. There's gonna be landing pads and probably, and maybe
Um,
expand the use of her ship or whatever.
I don't know. I don't think so because that was kind of a unique thing for Prime 3. So maybe they might not, and there'll be a lot more like utility inside the levels that you have to do. I'm not sure, man. I wouldn't mind it if they did do it, but like they would have to really make something super unique, like a unique mechanic for the game to make sure like, hey, this is Prime 4's mechanic,
Mm-hmm.
and in order to sell it to people. So I'm not sure. We'll see, man. Next year, right?
Yeah, next year, 2025. So I think it's still going to be a Switch game. I don't think, or maybe it's going to be both. We'll see.
We'll see.
So it's 2 hours. I gotta go to bed. So thanks for having this conversation. Thanks for doing this with me. Probably should have planned this a little bit better. But hey, that's what happens when you're working now. So AC, you have anything you want to plug? Anything you want to promote? Are you going to be on any channels? You doing anything? Any new vids or shorts or anything?
Just keep an eye out. This month is hashtag JRPG month, so a bunch of us guys are playing JRPGs throughout the month. It's almost done though, so I'm not sure what's gonna happen for next month. But right now, I'm playing Mario and Luigi Partners in Time. Next stream will be sometime next week. Probably. Actually, I'll check right now. It's gonna be either like Sunday night or Monday morning. I'll tell you right now. But that's been a lot of fun playing through that game. And then I'm going to close out the month because I have to do one final stream for Final Fantasy VII, and we're going to be taking on the Emerald and Ruby weapons because that's something that Nosferatu wants me to do. So
yeah, good luck
um,
good luck with that.
so
you're gonna need it.
So it looks like Sunday nights will be what I'll be streaming my final stream for Mario and Luigi Partners in Time as of right now. So I haven't set it in the schedule yet, but that's what I'm shooting for. No, I found some strat videos on how to fight both of those guys, and they're not as tough as if you find the right strat for them. And they're not exploiting anything. It's all done within the game and what the builds that you have. So we'll see if these strats that I found work. If not, it's gonna be a really long stream because I'm stubborn. So I'm gonna beat them one way or another. Besides that, oh
Did you find an Ultima weapon yet?
yeah, you have to in order to finish the game. Yeah.
No, I mean, well, actually, no, you don't. I mean, you do fight him, but you don't beat him. You have to
Oh
hold
yeah,
out
yeah, yeah. I
against
did
him.
beat him. Yeah, he was cake. Oh my goodness, yeah, he was cake. I beat him really easily. Um, yeah, he wasn't that bad. But yeah, other than that, man, just keep an eye out on. You can find me on YouTube, Angrycanadien. Same on Twitter, Instagram. I like to post photos of like some random stuff I get through my collection. I do a little bit of retro collecting here and there. Unfortunately, no new Lego build streams anytime soon. And as far as I'm not really on anybody's. Oh, sorry, my bad. Next week, I am on somebody's show. If you guys know Paul Hodokin, he does a book club every month, and we're going to be talking about Halo: The Flood, the second book from the original like Halo books. So I'll be on his show talking about that, and I think I think that's gonna do it, man. I appreciate you inviting me on, and we get to. I'm glad I got to dunk on the new show because for me, the new Shogun show is like Picard season 3 for you. Everyone's enjoying it, but I'm not enjoying it because I think it wasn't done as well as it could have been done. So, yeah.
Well, I wasn't the only one that felt that way, but yeah. But yeah, I think, I mean, I agree with your points on the new Shogun show. I think I think the old show rings more true than the new show. I think the new show, unfortunately, is another victim of just the worldview of writers nowadays, and trying not to be as authentic as they could be, you know.
Yep.
And that's something I miss in entertainment, and that's kind of why I'm not very. That's why I'm not as eager or as excited when I hear announcements. Usually, when I hear announcements now, especially if they're we're gonna make our version or remake of this or a version of this, we're gonna put our stamp on this. I'm like, keep your freaking hands to yourself.
Yeah.
You guys are like little kids. You have to touch and ruin everything. Leave it alone. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not the first one that came up with this idea. Red Letter Media did it years before when they were talking about Star Trek Discovery, comparing it to the original, comparing it to earlier Star Trek, basically. So, but yeah, for me, I don't even have a Chillporeal lined up for next week. I'm trying to see if I could find somebody. But I am going to be starting me and Thane are going to be eviscerating Rings of Power season 2. That's going to be starting next week. So the question is, will I survive for the 5 weeks that they're going to be showing new episodes? Because believe it or not, the first week they're going to be showing they're going to drop 3 episodes, which means
Oh,
it's going to suck. Usually when they drop 3 episodes, it means they don't have faith that people are going to hold on to it. So something's going to probably happen in episode 3 or something, and it's going to be awful.
It's 3 hours, right? That's gonna be like 3 hours of
3
content.
hours of hell. But hey,
Oh wow.
but I'm going to have Feanor to talk to, and Feanor's just going to be eviscerating while I just listen and nod my head. So, but yeah, that's going to be coming up, and I do want to do Chillporeal. I'm trying to figure out when I'm going to do my next one. I'm trying to talk to some people, figure that out. I really need to. I'm gonna say this live. I really need to figure out how to up my. I need to be more consistent. I need to up my viewership because I only have a couple of viewers. So even though I have thousands of subscribers, I only have like a couple of viewers. So I gotta make some video content again or something. So
Yeah, man. Well, you're a working man now, so you gotta take care of that too.
yeah, so I'll think of something. So, but yeah, man, it's great. Subscribe to Angrycanadien. If you're new here, or if you're not new here, if you're listening to the replay right now, definitely follow me on X or Instagram, and hit the bell for notifications. If you hit the bell, if you hit the notification button on X, you will be instantly notified when I usually use it to announce streams or videos or something. So that way you hear about it, and be able to share it with your friends. So but yeah, man, everybody take care, stay safe, and have a good night.